Hey there, cats and kitties. I am the Blues Man, Johnny Blues, and briefly I wanted to comment on the alternate ending to The Amazing Spider-Man 2. Now, I don't remember who gave me the heads up on this. It was either somebody in the comments on my YouTube video talking about the film, or perchance it was somebody over on Facebook who asked me if I'd seen it. And since that time, I actually did a YouTube search and found somebody's mobile equivalent where they were, pointing their phone or what have you at a TV screen, probably playing the special feature off the Blu-ray or what have you. And for those who aren't aware what this scene is all about, spoiler warning right here and now, I'm going to describe a little bit of it. If you don't want to know, click off the video. In any case, it's basically starting at the point in the film, toward the end of the film, where Peter Parker is standing in the cemetery mourning for months on end Gwen Stacy's loss. And in this alternate ending feature, this scene, basically he's confronted with this bearded man who comes up behind him, who for all intents and purposes, and very recognizably so, is Richard Parker, his thought-dead father. And there's a lot of tumultuous emotions at the forefront. Peter's very much in denial at first, but eventually it leads to them embracing and his convening for himself in mind that, okay, this is my father, whether I like it or not. And they walk off and they have a discussion. They sit on a bench and they're talking about everything from, that loss you feel and how do you continue on without somebody. No, you bring them with you. And, in Richard Parker's case, he's talking about he thought it was his legacy to take on the Osborns of the world and try to put a stop to them, trying to protect Peter, and yet still they found Peter at this point, Harry Osborn and everything. So maybe he had to reconcile for himself. It was his son's mission to be the hero and that kind of stuff. And of course there's the utterance of that famous Spider-Man line, with great power comes great responsibility. And this scene, admittedly, has left me with mixed emotions, essentially. While I was, for the most part, content with the whole Gwen Stacy, graduation speech, which basically prompted Peter to put the spider suit back on and everything, I did feel there were certain elements of it that were a little bit, you could say, cliched. And the alternative being, his father returning from the grave, essentially, I feel like that, too, would have been potentially troublesome and worrisome, because then it's not so much the damsel in distress, which you didn't really have with Gwen Stacy, but she still did get into trouble and stuff like that, but then it would be the daddy in distress. As soon as any of the villains of the next feature found out he was still alive, anyone related to Oscorp or what have you, suddenly Pete would have to be saving his father and all this kind of stuff. And I think the best way you could have handled that, bringing back the father, was the father's penultimate death, But I think what I would have liked to have seen is a merging between the two endings, the ending we got and the ending we could have gotten. There was a scene in The Amazing Spider-Man where essentially Peter Parker finds the Roosevelt, computer hookup and everything, and he finds a video of his father's. I think maybe they should have held that off till the end of the film, and we found an older Richard Parker, one who has been alive and who has been watching Peter from afar, but who has now since died just a year or two before the events of the film. And he admits the fact that he had to stay in hiding. He admits all of those same things that he admits to Peter in the cemetery in the other scene, but, he would already have been gone. That was the assumption, that he was gone. And I think that would have carried an even more tremendous amount of weight when relating to the loss of Gwen Stacy, to hear from beyond the grave a message from his own father and that kind of thing. I just think it adds a lot more trouble and worry, which is probably why they cut it and didn't go with the alternate ending featuring the father returned from the grave aspect, because it wouldn't have sat right with me, quite frankly. I think we got the best out of the situation with the way they ended it properly, and yeah, I'd love to hear from you guys in the comments below what you think of this. Do you think Richard Parker returning from the grave would have been a good thing, a bad thing in the Amazing Spider-Man film saga, the franchise as it goes onward? I don't think it would have. I think it would have been a hindrance more than something good. And so, yeah, I just can't wait to see what the next chapter beholds. I'd love to hear from you guys what you think about that alternate scene in the comments below. And I hope this video finds you well, and I'll catch you all later. Peace.